We are back here. Welcome back to the Clerc podcast show. Great to be back. And this is a big episode here. We've been wanting to do this one for a while. It's the return episode of Jack.
Return of Jack.
Now, what I didn't do that I keep forgetting to do is introduce you guys. So we got Damon Weinandt here.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even notice.
Co-host of the podcast.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for being here, Damon. Adam Farag, other co-host of the podcast.
I'm used to being forgotten, so wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah. Well, great to have you guys, and just appreciate you coming on here week after week and talking to people. So it's a fun time.
Speaking for us.
Fun to have you guys here. And this week on the podcast, like I said, we have a big guest. But before we do that, we need to announce that we are going to be doing more giveaways. And all you got to do to get into these giveaways, we're giving away shirts and stuff like that for all the new merch we have. All you got to do for that is share, comment, retweet, subscribe, like, give us a review, anything like that to get the podcast out there. We will enter your name in a drawing. And I have another one of the shirts on right now.
Yeah.
The Chupacabra Ethan Clerc Show shirt. And we talked about the Chupacabra. Well, we talked about it a long time ago, but we will be talking about that next week. And Wilder Demon. And we're going to be talking about... we get into a lot of other stuff, too. And the only reason I know that is because we recorded 2 episodes.
There's those behind the scenes again.
Yeah. We recorded 2 episodes. That's why Adam's wearing the same shirt and Damon.
Yeah.
I just threw on the giveaway shirt, so I'll wash it before I give it away. But
now it's worth more, right?
Yeah,
that's actually going to be a 3 episodes in a row me wearing this because we just got it last week. And
yeah, true. Yep. So that is why we're not crusty. We're just
I promise it got washed.
We just recorded 2 episodes, but this week on the podcast, it is great to have Jack back on, and you might be wondering why he's blurred out. Well, because he doesn't want anyone to know who he is. That's why he's blurred out. And there is reasons for that. So, Jack, great to have you back.
Yep.
I don't know the last time you were on. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
We made it a year, maybe. I was guessing a year, maybe.
I was going to say a year.
Yeah,
and when you were here before, it was way hotter. We were up on the 3rd floor, and we were sweating like a mother out there. I mean, it was really hot. So it's good to be down here in the library. It can get a little bit of cold or a little bit of refreshing air. But Jack, great to have you back on. And why don't you just tell people a little bit why so mysterious?
I keep saying and doing stuff that kind of irks the powers that be.
You keep pissing the government off?
Yep. It's different branches each time, but I think I've pretty much gotten most of them now.
Really? Wow. Well, and for people that hadn't watched that episode, it was a while ago, you talked about a couple different things last time. Why don't you just start by going over the story about when you had a couple Men in Black come visit you in school, because that was interesting to me.
Good timing to his new movie.
Men in Black.
There you go.
Why don't you just kind of refresh our minds, and then for people that haven't heard the story, kind of go over it because it's very interesting. Just what led to that?
I cracked the universal code that Einstein supposedly spent his life looking for, and realized later he probably did crack it, but there's people out there that don't want you to know. Because it's just basically there isn't 4 fundamental forces. It's all just electromagnetism, and they just got the equation that explains it a little wrong. I found the errors in it and straightened it out, and they don't want people to know just how everything works.
We could have had Jack on for the time travel one. Did some of it do a time travel?
We talked about time travel?
I've never gone that deep into it, but I do believe it's possible.
Really? Here's my question. We couldn't wrap our heads around moving like a physical being to another spot, and how do you take all my organs, my everything, move me? If we're talking about like back in history, I'm even talking about move me to that chair. Like, how is that possible?
Because were you talking about the 4 dimensions with Einstein? Like,
the 4 fundamental forces.
Which are what they...
electromagnetism, gravity, and the strong atomic force and the weak atomic force.
Those are the 4 that they say exist.
Yep.
But you say it's all electromagnetism.
Yep.
Really?
Yep. The strong and the weak force are based more on how the atom is put together, because the picture they show you is wrong.
Really?
It isn't little particles. Once an atom forms, the proton, the neutron, and the electron become one charge.
Really?
with one end being negative and the other end being positive, and the middle is neutral.
Yep.
But try to figure out what a frog is like. Say you can't see a frog.
Yeah.
Okay, suspend it in a globe and shoot another little bit of another frog at it, and then look at the splatter and put that back together. And are you going to come up with what looks like a frog?
No.
Where do you know where the bones, the muscle tissue, all that stuff?
Yeah.
You can sit there and try to figure out how it came apart after you subtract that little extra bit
Yep.
that you shot in there.
Yep.
But once you blow something apart, were they connected? Was this all just little bits?
Huh.
Well, when they blow an atom apart, you just have the little bits.
Mm-hmm.
Well, where do you put them together? But once, in fact, that's what helped me figure out. It's like, no, what we call an atom and look at as an atom, which is all those little particles flying around.
Yeah.
No, it looks more like a plasma ball with strands of energy coming out from the center.
Now, you say you figured this out. This is when you were in high school or college?
Yep, high school.
How come I shouldn't say how come. I shouldn't get to that yet. How did you come to discover this? What were you guys doing?
I was reading a magazine in the library, and it was an article Beyond Einstein where they were showing all the different possibilities of what the universal force was or whatever.
Yeah,
and I looked through them, and a couple of them looked stupid, a couple looked crazy, but the one that it was mostly electromagnetism caught my eye, and they changed the equation slightly. And so I looked at it, and it's like, well, wait a minute. And I started grabbing books and looking through, and in fact, I kind of missed a couple classes because I was so engrossed in what I was doing.
Yeah.
Was that in this building? Was this in the Bark? Or
No, it was at the new one.
New one, yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So you figure this out. You figure out that this new theory or whatever. You then do what with it?
I took it to the science teacher and showed him, and he freaked out over it and started grabbing books and started running through stuff on his calculator, and he couldn't find anything wrong with it. And I said, well, I've never written a paper.
Yeah.
He goes, I know that.
You've written a paper. I understand it. You help me. Well,
Like
get
a
this
research,
out
like
there.
a research
Yeah.
paper to
Yeah.
show. Okay, so you have him. He helps you write the paper.
well, he wanted to check with his professors from college first, just to
Yep.
be sure, because, this stuff is beyond most people.
Yeah.
And so just to be sure, in case he missed anything, he sent it off to his professors at the college he went to.
Yep.
And about 2-3 weeks later, he got a call from him, hurry up, get this paper written.
Wow.
We got guys that are rewriting their thesis, but they need to base it on what you got because now things make sense to them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a week later that we get the visit, and he called after they came in and took us in the back room, got all my stuff on it, all his stuff on it, and basically politely threatened all our lives and our families' lives. And so as soon as they left, he got on the phone to call his professors to warn them that, hey, something's going on. We just had government agents here.
Yep.
The guy didn't want to talk to him ever again, especially about that subject.
Wow.
And that was it. So
Were
we
they
just
in
figured
black
it's
suits?
safe to assume. Oh, yeah. Yeah, just like you see in the movies and stuff.
So you're just in class. They show up, bring you into the back room. They're like, "Come with us." Bring you in the back room. They pretty much tell you you've figured something out that you're not supposed to know.
Well, they didn't put it quite that way, but they wanted all our materials concerning it and who else knew and understood
Wow.
what the equation meant. And it was basically just me and the one science teacher.
Yep.
But yeah, he called to warn his professors, and he figured it was pretty safe to assume they'd already been visited too.
Wow.
You better have gotten an A in that class.
And you say that they threaten your lives.
Yeah.
This is something that you probably can't call the police because they're higher up than that. But I mean, what kind of credentials did they show you or whatever? They're just two guys in suits.
Oh,
come
they
in?
showed their badges and stuff. I don't remember exactly what it said, but this was no dime store
It was an
to-
actual
yeah.
You're
CIA,
hoping-
FBI, something,
Yeah.
something like
You're
that.
hoping Jack was going to say like a little baby alien or something, right? Like, had a little jar.
No, I was hoping if he knew if it was. I mean, it's obviously a government branch, but if it was like the FBI.
I wish I had looked a little
the
closer and
CIA.
seen which
Well, I'm
branch.
sure you were scared out of your mind.
But yeah,
I mean, that's a weird thing to happen. And what did your science teacher say to you then after that? Just forget about it?
yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
It's like, well, yeah. You got guys that can show up and make you disappear or die or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
the government's got all sorts of power that they don't tell you about. And if, in the name of national security, and that was kind of getting towards the end when somebody dressed like that flashed a badge. You just did what you were told.
Oh,
and-
for sure, yeah. Wow.
Did that change your life? I mean, or did you kind of get past that, or did it make you get interested in? Because I know you're interested in pyramids, and I'm assuming maybe those electric, that kind of
Well,
stuff
yeah,
would kind of
I-
tie into that, not to
I-
get ahead or anything. But
I always looked into stuff that couldn't be explained because
Yeah.
there's got to be an answer.
Yep.
In my mind, there's got to be an answer for everything, and I wanted to know the
Yep.
answer for everything.
Here's the weirdest part about this whole thing. I just finished watching the Chernobyl series on HBO.
oh, you did watch it. We
Very
were talking
good.
about that.
I binge watched it because I thought it was so good. It's only 5 episodes, so there wasn't much to binge watch. But
Still binge though.
I did. I watched all of it within like 2 days. And in the part that it was really interesting to me, I had never known before, that the scientists that discovered there was a problem with their science that the government was telling everyone was that they did the same thing to them. Men in black suits came. They said, you will not tell anybody about this. They said, if you do tell anybody about this, you are going to really regret it. Like, we know your family. We know where your daughter is, like everything. I'm like, holy
Yep.
cow. And this is real life, true story. No one denies it anymore. The government actually did come forward and say, we made mistakes. Our science was wrong after this guy committed suicide because the government was watching him. So this story that you tell seems to me to be the same thing, and it was about the same time, right? This was in 86, 87.
Oh, it would have been
was
78.
70, oh, so even before.
Yep.
So definitely
In fact, it was the same year that they formed the Department of Education.
really?
Yep.
Wow.
Because
So
I kind of wondered if there wasn't other people figuring this out too.
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, why would the government? I can understand why they would in the Soviet Union, why they would want to suppress things. Why would the American government want to suppress ideas or new?
Because once you understand this equation, what we call anti-gravity is no problem.
What do you mean by that?
Really?
Yeah.
That's how you suspend the frog. That's what I was wrapping my head around.
What do you mean by that though?
The TR-3B.
TR-3B?
Yeah.
What do you?
That's the latest flying saucer that our government has that I know of. The triangular shaped ships.
Oh, the.
Haven't you ever noticed that on all those pictures of old UFOs, the ones that they can't discredit always seem to be a little better technology as the years go by? Now, wait a minute. These aliens figured their way to Earth, but they're still advancing their ships at the rate that our technology is advancing? Because some of them look like special effects out of Hollywood from that time.
Yeah.
How would you build it if you were making it at that time? And some of those old UFO ships that they can't explain, it's like, wait a minute, you didn't fly that thing all the way from wherever, all the way to Earth, that piece of crap tin can.
Yeah.
You might have flown to the moon and back, but
You're talking about the spinners, the discs? Or
Okay.
and now they see the triangular ones that are a lot more advanced than,
like the stealth bombers and such?
yeah.
So the government knows this stuff. They don't want us to know it because in their minds, if we know
The
this,
petrodollar.
oh, it's all has to do with keeping money in big oil.
When Nixon took the dollar off of the gold standard and put it on, there was contracts and agreements signed with Saudi Arabia that's part of OPEC's deal. You can't buy oil except with American dollar bills.
Really? Wow.
Nobody can buy oil from OPEC without transferring it to American dollars first. That's one of the main reasons our money still holds value.
Wow.
Is because other countries have to buy our dollars to turn around and buy oil with.
Yeah.
That's why they were getting mad at Saddam Hussein and some of those other guys. They were Saddam was selling oil for euros. Those weren't weapons of mass destruction on those trucks that we were getting photographs of. That was tankers full of oil
Really?
that he was selling under the wire for euros.
Wow. So that's why they were mad about the whole thing.
Our whole economy is wrapped around oil.
That's crazy. I mean, it probably back up some of the stuff you say about how the Bushes and war and everything, because you've talked about that before, Adam. Haven't you?
Yeah. I've absolutely believed in that. I mean, that was like a major reason for why I believe that 9/11 was something that the government knew about, if not even like perpetuated themselves, for the sake of having a reason to go there and get oil and like invade them for oil, because had they not, or had they just gone in trying to get this stuff with really no cause and just kind of gone in there and tried to bully their way through it, they would have no, like they wouldn't have the backing of the American people. But when a major event like 9/11 happens, that's when everybody starts to get on board with, hey, maybe we should go over there and do something about it.
And then the oil is kind of an extra thing that came with it.
Yeah, in the public's mind, it was an extra thing that came with it, but like
in reality, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
they did it for the oil. You agree with that too? That 9/11
in reality, the
was an
oil was the
inside
main
job?
thing.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I was watching the TV when it was going on.
Yeah.
Well, I had a free sample Wall Street Journal. I got it for a month.
Yep.
I clicked on something online, and
Yep.
since it was free, it was always a day late. And I'm sitting there on the couch reading about some guy that hung a banner at the Democratic convention the year before. He got a job in security, told a few lies in his application. He went to sneak in a banner, and before he could even, one guy working on his own, trying to sneak a banner in to hang that was an anti-Democrat banner, they had him cuffed and stuffed before he did it. But I'm supposed to believe that a group of organized terrorists got away with all this crap before anybody stopped them? And I'm sitting there watching the TV, and it's like, holy crap, what's going on here?
Yeah.
How do you get a hold of a jet? How do you sneak it past? And I'm sorry, that is a plan that's in place. If you get a terrorist in a jet and it's heading for an important populated area, they aren't going to tell you on the evening news, but the Air Force has the right to shoot them down to minimize the total casualty rate.
So you're saying if it wasn't
So-
an inside job, the government would have taken them out before they even got to New York or the Pentagon.
They
That is weird. I mean,
they
I
would
never
have
thought
caught
about this
half
before.
of them or more
Yeah.
before they even got to the country, and to actually get the jet and hit something with it, that jet should have been shot down. They've exercised it. The plans are in place. You got a terrorist in a jet heading for a populated area, they can blow it out of the sky, and that's their plans.
And I never thought about that before. I'm not going to maybe go as far as say 9/11 was an inside job, but it is weird that they didn't shoot the jet that hit the Pentagon out of the air before it hit the Pentagon.
Oh, absolutely.
That to me is a strange
And they definitely had the ability to do it. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know the technology in 2001, like what that was set up, but you'd assume that it'd be advanced enough where they'd have an anti-terrorism defense mechanism set in place at the Pentagon, the most secure place in.
Oh, definitely. You got a jet that they even think is going near the Pentagon. They're going to have a jet up in the air, shoot it down.
Yeah.
There should be missiles in place that, of course, they're not going to tell us about it because they tell us, then anybody attacking would know where the missiles are. And,
Yeah, true.
and plus, you've got more cameras per square inch there at the Pentagon than anywhere else on the planet. And they
they're
only had two
one
pictures.
shot. Oh, was it two?
Yeah, they're
Oh,
two
okay.
frames that actually have something in them.
Yeah, there is some weird stuff surrounding it, and I've looked into it before. And Building 7's another.
I suppose I should go on record too. Like we're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one because I don't think it's an inside job.
Yeah,
either,
I
but,
don't know if I go as far as to say it was an inside
But just because
job.
I'm sitting here, I'll just say it. But I'm listening to the sides.
Yeah, have you ever looked into Building 7 before?
Refresh me what Building 7
Building
is.
7, so the World Trade Centers, there's actually
All the buildings
there's
surrounding
other
them.
buildings surrounding it that are part of that same facility or whatever you want to call it. Building 7 is I don't know how many stories it was. It's a pretty tall building, not obviously as tall as the World Trade Centers, but it's a tall building, and it fell at free fall speeds. Like there's video, and this is not even something that they argue about anymore. There's literally video of it falling at free fall speeds. Now the only way for a building like that to fall at that speed would be a controlled demolition. And there's video of government officials talking about, let's pull Building 7, let's do it, let's go right now. Like there's video of them talking about it. So I've seen pretty believable evidence that Building 7 was rigged to drop, which is weird because there wouldn't be enough time to do a controlled.
That's some of the conspiracy, right? Like how the buildings fell and the
Yeah.
melted and such, or like
That's a major part of it.
There's a lot of stuff.
There's even a British broadcast, a news broadcast, a half an hour before the building fell. They've got a live camera of the building standing behind them, and they're reporting on Building 7 falling.
I have seen that, yeah.
There's a lot of, but you also have to figure in, this is a super hectic time. There could be a lot of misreporting, people getting facts wrong. You know, there's other things, but the thing that really got me with that whole thing is the building does fall at free fall speeds, which a building like that, if it's built right, and they were built right, because even the architect who built the building came forward and said that building will not fall like that unless there was dynamite, controlled demolition. That is the only, I mean, I shouldn't say the only, but that is the key piece of evidence that makes me really question everything that went on. But I mean, I can't go as far as to say the government knew that those planes were going to crash into the World Trade Centers and kill that many people. That just sounds to me, I don't know if I could go that far. I'm not denouncing you guys.
No, I know.
Yeah, it's tough to think that the government could betray us like that, and I know they have. There's been other operations where the government has
Look
done it
into
before.
Operation Northwoods.
Yeah, I know that was a big one where.
And that's just one of them.
which one's Northwood?
They killed. Well, if you want to explain it, you could probably do a better
That
job.
was when Kennedy was in office, and they wanted to do terrorist attacks on this country and blame it on Cuba.
Yeah, so they
Just
killed.
so we could attack Cuba and have the public behind them.
Killed. I don't think that ever went forward, did it? But they.
No,
they were
Kennedy
planning at it.
Kennedy
Yeah.
wouldn't let them.
Yeah.
He said no.
Yeah, it was. They found out about the full plan, like it was set in motion to do a terrorist attack on the United States, and then we'd blame it on Cuba and go after them. But it was something that was talked about and almost happened. Like it was pretty close, as far as I'm concerned, to actually going on.
Yep.
So it's not like they have proof of a government, our own government doing it to ourselves, but they have proof of a plan in motion.
And our government is so fragmented.
Yeah. Well, I don't think
The
anyone's
people
gonna argue
we
with that.
elect probably don't know half of what's going on, and they're told
Yep.
what they need to know.
Actors, pretty much.
Yeah.
I
Well-
will agree that experience, that unfortunate experience, did help Bush get reelected.
Absolutely.
Or elected. Like, I can't agree with that.
100%.
'Cause that's what's scary about wars too, because sometimes presidents might realize that and be thinking this along the lines of the
His
same
approval
thing.
rate was through the roof
Yeah,
after
'cause
9/11. It was
usually-
pretty high.
Usually citizens do unite after or
Yep.
when you start a war, so you
And
gotta
the
always
country,
keep that in mind.
yeah, the country did come together after that. How horrific of an accident and everything it was, the country was united at that part. It's tough that you have to think you have to have a horrible thing like that happen for the country to unite. Right now when we're so divided, like something like that united the country. But I don't know. That's a whole nother thing we could talk about. But I wanted to get your opinion on.
Get back to Jack's stories.
I wanted to get your opinion on, because you brought up anti-gravity and
Experiences.
stuff. Bob Lazar, have you heard his testimony?
Yeah.
Very interesting. I've listened to his entire thing. What do you think he's credible? Because the government has pretty much deleted his past.
Out of the ones that I've heard, he's probably one of the most credible.
Really?
Because after figuring that out, there's times that there's guys out there that, oh, hey, they got UFOs out there and this is how they run. And I look at it and go, no, that wouldn't work.
He talks about him very
But
sophisticated.
he goes into some detail and it's like, and there's probably a few things out there that I don't even understand, like materials and
Yep.
and technologies that are beyond anything we've got here.
Yep.
But out of some of them, it's like, he's probably got the closest explanation of how you'd build a ship that could
It's crazy.
go flying through
A
space.
fascinating one to me, and I know that you know a lot about this, Jack, are the ancient pyramids.
Yep.
And things like that. And like you see specials and how are they built. In fact, I just think I was listening to a podcast, or I think it was a podcast, not on TV, like them talking about that again.
Yeah.
Does that tie into this, like moving blocks or aliens coming to
Oh,
to
yeah.
do the pyramids?
Whoever
or how
built
did those...
the pyramids understood electromagnetism better than anybody's going to learn about in school today.
Now, before you say anything else, we did an entire episode where we talked about the pyramids being built. And the weird thing is, Sherman was on here, and he said that the Egyptians used electromagnetism to build the pyramids.
That'd be like what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
He does not believe in aliens at all, but he said that they used technology we didn't think they had available to them to build them.
Well, one thing you got to figure is the ones that we know of as the ancient Egyptians didn't build the pyramids.
Really?
They were around at least 12,500 BC, 13,000. They were at least there when the last ice age ended. But you figure the end of that last ice age, there's Noah's flood right there. All these other
Bigfoot.
well,
Before that we were talking about Bigfoot.
Yeah.
and this is why I was even talking to him on the way here, why I haven't written books, because you got to segue into so many different things that, you could write a book about the pyramids, but I'd have to write 2 other books about other subjects and sub-reference. Okay, now you got to go to understand this part here, you got to go to book 3, chapter 2.
There's so much to know about all this stuff. It's
and
crazy.
that's what it was. What I saw, like they're finding pyramids, like large pyramids, in other continents now, not just like in Egypt.
Talking about like in the jungles. And
yeah,
stuff.
like in the jungles, they do thermal imaging or whatever.
We talked about
called.
that on another podcast too.
Well,
where
surreal. So that's okay.
They take LiDAR, laser imaging, and they can. I don't know if you've ever seen this, Jack. They found these unbelievable, huge cities in the jungle. And just crazy pyramids, huge like highway systems that they built. Unbelievable. And we're like, they're not smart enough to do that back then. Well, they did it. And we're finding it nowadays with the modern technology.
And what's considered a pyramid? Yeah, and what's considered a pyramid, even when you have an idea of what a pyramid is, even they're questioning that. Like they're not always the block pyramids.
No,
too.
some of them are like more mound.
They're using those
Some are
structures.
ziggurats, some are,
Yep. Well, and the reason I brought up the Bob Lazar thing, I don't know if you guys know. Have you heard of this?
I was going to ask, but
okay, Bob Lazar was a guy, or is a guy right now who's coming forward, getting a lot of hate, a lot of like the government pretty much deleted his whole past. He went to Harvard, MIT. He worked at the Los Alamos. Yeah, he worked at the military base there, and the government has deleted his work history, his birth certificate. You can't even find this guy. And he's going out right now, and he claims that he worked at Area 51 and that he worked on alien spaceships for 2 or 3 months, something like that. And he talks about how him and this other guy, I can't remember the other guy's name, I think it was Barry. Him and Barry worked because they paired everyone up. Everything was so secret and everything. They paired them up, so him and Barry were working on, their only thing they were working on was an anti-gravity. I can't think of the name of what it was, but it was pretty much when they turned it on, you couldn't touch it. Like if this was the thing, you couldn't touch it. Like it was like putting 2 magnets together. Yeah. And so he said this technology is what they used for these alien crafts, and he said they had 9 of them.
Tesla engine.
It just like, and he went inside of these things too, and like the way he describes it. If you want to look it up sometime, it's a lot to look at because he has a huge testimony. Bob Lazar, Area 51, he talks about how the government had all these different ones. The one he was working on looked like your typical alien UFO disc, and he said the inside was all smooth. There was no like moving parts or anything. It was all like a weird metal. Like he couldn't tell if it was metal or ceramic. But like he talked about the government has 9 of these in hangars, and the only day he saw 9 of them was when they had all the hangar doors open, and he could see them all the way down, and they were all different shapes. One he said looked like a Jello mold. One he said was like a dome shape. I don't know. It's really weird stuff, and people are coming out denouncing him and everything, but he knows a lot about it, and the way he talks about it is very like professional, and he claims that the government captured or somehow got these 9 spacecraft. I don't remember if they're archaeological digs is what he was saying at one point. And so he doesn't know where they came from, but he said it was somewhere, and he named the galaxy. I can't think of the name of it. It's another galaxy away, and they captured these 9 alien UFOs, and they're testing them. And he said they could potentially still be doing it nowadays, but they pretty much deleted his entire past. So that was the big thing. So when you talked about like them coming to you and threatening you, that's exactly what they did to him. But he must have really pissed them off because they've gone back and deleted everything.
That's like Sundog.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. I mean, they literally went back and
The movie
deleted.
Ethan shot.
Yeah. For people that don't know, they literally went back and they deleted him. He's not even like supposed to be here. He doesn't have a birth certificate. He doesn't have any. They don't have any records of him ever going to high school, college, any work history. There's nothing. There's nothing for this guy. So to me, it's such a weird thing. And why does the government not want us to know about this stuff? Like, I mean, you'd think we want to show it off to the world.
The dollar would collapse. And there's parts of it that don't make any sense to me, because even if they said, okay, pull somebody out like Elon Musk and say, hey, here, say you invented this or came up with this, now we got to make the technology.
Yeah.
Okay, now you still got to set up factories, hire the people, do the R&D, figure out a way. Are you going to make individual units for people to buy in their houses? Are you going to make bigger units for communities to use?
Yep.
How are you going to put it out? And then once you do that, it's not going to switch over overnight.
Yeah.
I mean, over time, oil is slowly going to go away as more and more people can afford to buy a car that
Electric cars
doesn't
and
even
stuff,
have a
yeah.
battery in it. As long as you're on the planet in the magnetosphere,
Yeah.
you can drive around for free.
That's true. Like the government's probably laughing at Elon, going, "Ha ha ha! Look at him waste all that money on those jets, those rockets that are landing themselves. You don't need to do that."
Yeah.
Well, and people say, well, look, they don't even have the technology to get to the moon that they used originally.
Uh-oh.
Well, why? Why?
Yeah,
they
that
spent
is
just
weird.
as much, if not more, money making craft that can get you there in a couple minutes. Why would you worry about some old rockets? It's like, hey, we got this Model T sitting there that we drove down the road with back when I was a little kid. Why do you need a brand new Ford pickup?
Yeah.
Well, of course, you got the Ford pickup sitting there. Why are you going to go crank up the old Model T when
Yep.
just let it fall apart? Who cares?
Yeah. Did you see the Tic Tac, very recent, I can't think of the guy's name. I got too many names to think of here. Look up Tic Tac Navy, or not Navy, pilot. Just look up Tic Tac pilot UFO, and you'll find it on YouTube. It should pop up, yeah. You know what I'm talking about, Jack? There was a pilot
Where you saw
from the military. You hear about this? He's
think
been
you
all
might have
over.
watched it.
He's been all over the news lately, coming out. I can't think of the guy's name. It'll come up here. They call it the Tic Tac UFO, and it was spotted over California, over the ocean actually. And this strange Tic Tac shaped craft hovers in the same spot for a very, very long time, and then takes off in 2 seconds. It goes past 10 miles of visibility. This thing was moving like the speed of a bullet. He said, and this is a pilot coming out. This is the guy
This
right
one right
here.
here, this first
Yep,
one?
David Fravor. Yep. Watch that. This is unbelievable footage, and they're calling this the most credible UFO footage of all time, shot by the U.S. military. So there's no, I mean, you can't discredit that. Let me turn the volume up here.
Asking the right questions.
So the
because
military shot this
The
footage?
military shot this footage.
And they released it.
They released it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just telling you what actually happened here.
I'm just curious as to why they would release it if they're trying to keep stuff like
Because
this.
the-
David Fravor
this is
still
it.
can't explain what he says he saw that day. November 2004, the Navy fighter pilot was on a training mission west of San Diego when he was ordered to check out something in the water not far away. On a clear day, over a smooth ocean, he saw the object, waves breaking over it, and says he saw something hovering.
Oh, crap. Here, pause it quick. There it is right there, though. That's official footage from the U.S. military.
It's like something out of
Good
Star
job,
Wars.
good
what it
job
looks
circling
like.
it at him.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing that. I'm actually doing that
DJ.
right now.
Maybe move it back just a little bit. What do you think about this, Jack?
Well, they've been seeing things like that even around some of the volcanoes that are erupting.
Really?
Yep.
I never knew about that.
Yep,
Saw the
there's-
object,
there's
waves
several.
breaking over it, and says he saw something hovering above it.
It's randomly moving north, south, east, west, just random. You know, just stopping, going the other direction, like you could do with a helicopter, but a little bit more abrupt. It looks like a 40-foot-long Tic Tac with no wings.
Fravor says he and his four-man team tracked the object for several minutes until it just disappeared. Tonight, CNN has learned the Pentagon had a secretive program to research UFOs like the one Fravor spotted. The project was called the...
Oh, just about to get the name.
Oh.
Tic
What was it
Tac.
called?
He must have just popped a Tic Tac in his mouth. It's like,
Yeah.
it looks like a.
Well, I think they were
Tic
saying
Tac?
it looked like a Tic Tac board, like a don't you think? Isn't that what they're talking? Or you
I
think
thought
they're?
maybe you thought like
Oh,
that.
maybe they're. Okay.
I was thinking, yeah.
Okay, maybe that
like
is
the
why. I
candy
thought it
or
was like.
whatever.
I guess it doesn't
looks
really
like
look
a
like a Tic
mint
Tac
Tic
board.
Tac.
The Pentagon had a secretive program to research UFOs like the one Fravor spotted. The project was called the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program, run by an official named Luis Elizondo.
I think this is a national security imperative. We have clear things that we do not understand.
Look at that
how they
footage,
work,
though.
operating in areas that we can't control.
A defense official tells CNN the program cost at least $22 million over 5 years before it was shut down in 2012. According to the New York Times and Politico, which first reported this story, tens of millions of dollars for the project were pushed through by former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. Those publications say a lot of the money for the Pentagon UFO program went to a company called Bigelow Aerospace, run by a longtime friend of Reid's, Robert Bigelow, a big believer in UFOs. Public records show Bigelow contributed about $20,000 to Reid and his political action committee.
That campaign contributor got research contracts from this program.
Now it's going this
That just-
direction.
Internal
Yeah,
conflict
it's
of
going
interest.
to-
Yeah. Very interesting stuff. Most credible footage I've ever seen, only because the U.S. government released it. And this guy's coming out now. I totally forgot his name now. David Fravor, the pilot of that aircraft. And I mean, you saw the footage. What else? I mean, it takes off in 2 seconds. They have the what do you call it? The line, the sight they could, or the line. What do you call it? Like how far they can see?
The scale or like?
Like, because when you're way up or whatever, you can see, they say they can see 10 miles out or they can see 20 miles out. They said they could see 10 miles out, and in 2 seconds, it went from right in front of them to so far over the horizon you couldn't see it. In 2 seconds. Nothing, what kind of human could handle the G's
You
necessary?
don't have to.
No? Why?
Well,
It's not a human, it's an
once
alien.
you understand that equation, you also figure out that counter-rotating magnetic fields will create a bubble of, best description I could give would be time-space. You've got your own set of physics going on inside the bubble, and you've got the set of physics going on outside the bubble.
Wow.
Once you make this bubble and learn how to move it around, you can move it all over the place, and you won't feel anything inside of it because you're in your own bubble there, where you can push somebody that's in the bubble and they'll feel you push them, but what's going on outside the bubble and inside the bubble are subject to two different sets of physics.
Wow,
They've
that's
been
why it can
separated.
move so sporadic, and no one inside would feel anything.
Not really, no. Once you create that bubble, you may need artificial gravity, but you don't need what they call inertial dampeners on all your sci-fi movies.
Wow.
Because what's going on inside that bubble is totally separate. It's just like driving down the road in your car, but a whole different way.
Yep. Wow.
If you were on the roof of the car, that's a little different than being sitting in the car.
Yeah. Well, and Bob Lazar talked about when they did one test flight when he was there in Area 51. They flew this craft up. There was a human inside of it. They flew the UFO up, and he said if you looked up, if it was directly above you, you couldn't see it. Because the gravity, the anti-gravity thing,
bent the light
it
right
bent the
around
light
it.
right around it. That's what he said. Yeah, and he said that you weren't able to see it. So that was proof that the anti-gravity mechanism was in use, which blew my mind. And the fact that you understand what he's talking about is even crazier to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm listening to this guy. I'm like, dang, this sounds like crazy stuff. But then you come and talk about this theory you came up with, and isn't that technically like the same exact thing that they were doing?
Yeah.
Wow.
In fact, I found a video where some guys actually built a little dealie that had magnetic fields spinning against each other and how they could get it to lift off the ground and everything. And
Wow.
it was pretty interesting. And then they get to the part, well, this is the second one we've built because the first one disappeared.
Wow.
Well, at that point, they kind of look, and they had no way to explain what happened to it, so they kind of look a little flaky to the average person looking at it.
Well, that's the thing.
I haven't responded or put a comment down below because I have had comments cause problems at YouTube.
Really?
And I feel if I put down what was going on there,
Yep.
Well, now his video is going to disappear.
Oh,
And in
yeah.
order for that to work, that's why you have to discredit Einstein, right? Because those laws aren't what that is saying. That everyone's
And they don't want to
supposed
discredit Einstein, probably.
Well,
Well-
that's what he moved the formula around because Einstein's laws are different from those because you
Yep.
can't have a constant motion.
Well, he was looking for the unified theory, and I always kind of wondered why towards the end of his career he was more worried about photo ops and hanging out with well-known people in Hollywood than figuring it out.
You think they told him to stop?
Yeah, I think he did figure it out, and they just, nope.
That's crazy
Nope.
stuff. Oh my gosh. Well,
No,
and you talked about YouTube comments and stuff getting deleted.
Oh, yeah.
Is the government always watching, listening?
They've been watching since before all the algorithms went in.
Really?
Yeah.
That might explain
There
our
was-
thumbs down on this one.
Or if no one watches, I don't know. It's like you talked
Well,
about
have you-
videos getting taken off and
Have
stuff.
you ever heard of the Brookings Institute?
I have heard of the Brookings
Yeah.
Institute.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then you understand why never a straight answer, NASA.
Never
All,
straight answer.
all the information that NASA collects has to go through the Brookings Institute
Double check all
before
of it.
they let it out to the public. So
Interesting.
that's why sometimes you see live feeds just stop.
Oh.
Because there's something going on they don't want you to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
And-
wow.
There's also disclosure. You've got one branch that looks at it as they got to sooner or later, there's too much proof getting out. Sooner or later, they got to admit. And there's also the rumors that the aliens have pretty much set a time limit that unless you tell people that we're out here because we've given you technology, we're just going to show up.
Really? I never knew about that.
And
Wow.
yeah, and everybody always says, well, why don't they just show up in Washington? Well, let's see. There's a time life issue that had to put a different cover on it because they were going to show the UFOs parked above the White House back in the 50s.
They have a picture of that? Really? A real
They
picture?
did show up, and it was going to go out as the cover on Life magazine.
Wait a
one.
minute. This is big stuff here. I've never heard about this before.
That's
Think of
right.
Independence Day poster.
That's right.
Government shows up right now.
Back in the 50s.
Really? There's an
There-
actual picture.
There were pictures, and it was even going out over the news.
There, can you find
That-
this online?
I was gonna say
You can try.
And this
UFOs
sounds
visit White House.
in the 50s. This sounds to people who are watching or listening. It sounds hard to believe because most people never have to think about anything like this.
Well, and if you hear about it, it's just easier to believe that it's just something somebody
Yeah.
made up.
Yep. 1952.
Pictures or
52.
articles?
Just go to images. Yeah. See. And the Air Force blamed
1952. Yep.
Oh,
Sent,
you could
sent the national. Yeah, that's why.
Sorry.
Whatever, Damon.
Yeah.
It's probably not.
Sorry, yeah.
I
Probably
would
not
say
this
that
one.
looks like yeah. Are
It'd
any
be
of
the
these
black and whites. They didn't have color
There's
back
some-
then.
something
Like-
like that or
like this
there's
one?
no UFO. Click on it though. When UFOs buzz the White House,
this
just
one
click
here.
that one. We'll click the article. Like,
Oh,
go to
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
see if you can find anything about it on there.
History.com, so it's probably biased.
So, yeah, they've already visited our leaders.
Wow. This is in the 50s, so this would have been
Mm-hmm.
Nixon was president, or who was
And
president?
the Air Force blamed the
who
White
was
You could go back to the
who
one
was
you saw
president?
first,
I have
that
who was
article.
president in the 50s?
I'm thinking
Probably
that was
pointed to the wrong
Truman.
thing.
What year was Nixon?
Nixon was in the 70s.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
That shows how much I know about presidential history here.
Oh, yeah, I got to watch the Watergate joke.
Oh, jeez. All right. Does it show any pictures here?
That's a cloud, it looks like.
No, keep going down though. They'll probably have the picture in that UFO mania takes hold. Maybe you can't find the picture anymore. They blamed
Project Blue
Yep,
Book.
yep. Right here, the April 1952 issue of Life magazine.
it. Click it.
Marilyn
Yeah.
Monroe.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, but
Wouldn't you rather
Wait.
see a picture of Marilyn
gonna
Monroe
say,
than the
that's-
So-
fact that there's alien life out there that could destroy us at the snap of a finger?
So they were gonna post the UFO picture, but they post Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, somebody changed their mind.
Really? Oh my gosh! I'll have to look more into this. What is it? Does it say anything else about it on here, Adam?
I'm pretty sure this whole article is about it.
I mean, anything you could pick out quick. No power plant known or projected on Earth could account for the performance of these devices. Wow. I never have heard of this before. I'll have to do some research. That's
Yeah, I'd say
crazy.
Fire.
It's
It's like wildfire in Game of
definitely
Thrones.
something to check out.
I was thinking.
You said Game of Thrones. I've never
Wildflowers.
watched it before.
Yeah, wildfire.
Wow. That is unbelievable. So, I mean, you said that they talked about how, they said if you don't tell them, then we're just going to show up. So is this them showing up, or are they planning on coming back?
Well,
like a
that
big
might have been
show-off?
one of the early meetings after they found out we discovered how to use atomic energy and blow the hell out of stuff, destroy the planet. And,
Yeah.
Because it's like, there's, in my opinion, to think
job,
that
Adam.
we're the only planet with life on it in the universe is pretty arrogant.
It's huge. The universe is huge.
But planets like we've got here
Yeah.
aren't that, well, they're kind of rare. So
Yeah.
when you got a planet that supports life, that's, as some would call it, an Eden planet, let's see what we can make out of life here.
Do you think these other life forms on these different planets maybe don't need oxygen or water? They've developed they've grown into a different.
It's
know what I mean?
possible. Life finds a way, no matter where.
Yeah.
If there's any signs, and there's places where they haven't even found water, but there's still signs of life.
Really.
And, well, Mars.
They found water on Mars?
Oh yeah.
Really? I didn't know
There's
that. I didn't
water
know
and
that.
ice. Most of it's underground and most of it's ice.
Really?
But
Wow.
if they had a magnetic field, you'd have a better or a stronger magnetic field.
Yep.
You'd have atmosphere. You'd have stronger what we call gravity, because that's one thing that. Here's another, in my opinion, from what I've heard, it's not gravity that holds
Yeah.
the atmosphere in place. It's our magnetosphere that holds the atmosphere in place.
Huh.
Because the magnetosphere has been shrinking, what with the pole shift going on. And yes, our atmosphere is shrinking. That's another reason you're getting such weird weather patterns. It's got a thinner area to move around in now. So that's helping screw up our weather.
Yeah. Well, that brings me to another thing I wrote down on here. There are a lot of people that think chemtrails, the government can manipulate weather, and I have seen real life videos or whatever where the government can go and create artificial rainstorms. They can create or take away a rainstorm that's about to happen. Do you think that they actually do chemtrails and spray over populations to change stuff or whatever?
I'm not sure what all they're doing with it, but I do know that putting that stuff in the air that they do would help them energize the air. If you're shooting, whether it's frequencies from HARP or whether you're using
HARP, I've heard of that come up a lot.
Yeah, and right now, NexRad radar, that doesn't just look at the weather. If you look at the frequencies and the strengths they can crank those babies up to, if they can play with the weather with HARP, a NexRad radar system, they could do all sorts of mean, nasty things with that weather.
How can they do that? How can they change with, what is it?
All they got to do is heat up the air, and it's going to move stuff around.
Really?
Or change the electromagnetic connection. Because if you watch Suspicious Observers, their channel at YouTube, he gives a daily report, shows you what the sun is doing, how it affects the planet. He's got tutorial videos.
Really?
He's got a disaster prediction app where he can even tell you where the extreme 6.0 or higher earthquakes are going to be just by the electromagnetic patterns going on in the area.
You know, this kind of relates. I mean, it's on topic a little bit, but I saw something really interesting about climate, and I was wondering if it had an effect on it. I was watching a special on the giant redwoods in California.
Oh.
Those things are amazing. If you don't know much about them, look into them. But I mean, they're really old. You know, they grow really big, but they are like their own little ecosystem in that tree. And I can't remember how many. It was just 1,500 gallons maybe or more. Don't quote me. I'd have to look it up. But it was an insane amount of how much moisture that they collect to keep growing. And I was just wondering, with that many redwoods and taking moisture out of the air, And California's a pretty dry state with
It
rain
is,
and
yeah.
everything. And like wonder how that affects the weather. They didn't go into that part of it, but it's kind of the same with weather and like what's collecting moisture and doing stuff like that. But man, those giant redwoods.
Well,
that's crazy. I never thought
there
about
was a couple years ago. There was a time when 3 hurricanes popped up in the Atlantic, just right in a row, and all the conspiracy theorists were hollering that, oh, this is proof they're controlling the weather. How else can these happen like that? Well, Ben at Suspicious Observers keeps records of everything, has even called out NASA and NOAA for fudging the facts.
Really?
Here's their chart from 78. Now here's their chart that they're saying was their chart in 78, and look at all the changes.
Wow.
And
That's crazy.
he looked back, and we just got struck with a glancing blow from an M-class flare. The sun spit
Solar
out.
flares?
Yeah, sun spit out an M-class flare. We caught the edge of it. Well, he went back and looked, and last time 3 hurricanes popped up in the Atlantic, just one right in a row, like pearls on a string. Last time it happened, we got a glancing blow from an M-class flare.
Does the government create these flares?
No. No, this is just the sun.
Oh.
Regular solar flares.
Okay. Yep.
But the way the different electromagnetic fields from the sun affect the planet,
Yep.
our connection to the sun, it isn't just heat and light we get from the sun. There's also the electromagnetic connections and the fields that go on, and depending on how the electromagnetic fields hit the earth, will influence our weather.
So does the government manipulate these electromagnetic fields to change the weather?
If you know, well, with HARP, you can either shoot energy out at different frequencies and do different things with it. You change the electromagnetic fields, change the temperature of the air.
Yep.
Now you can change the weather.
That's a lot of Tesla stuff with the magnetic ball lightning, stuff like that.
And like HARP, that could either pull energy out of the magnetosphere and store it for later, or it could be used to shoot the energy out, and depending on what frequency and direction you aim it at, you can mess with weather, you can cause earthquakes.
Wow. Well, I want to show you a video. Go to the desktop, Adam. I have a video to show you, Jack. This is very interesting stuff. Found this on Facebook a long time ago. I saved it. Episode 44 files, yeah. It's called Unite or something. Global Aware Unite there. Yeah, that one. Yeah. Watch this video, and this is the weirdest thing. And this lady, just a lady, oh, you're going to probably have to...
It is Monday, March 12th.
I don't know how you make it full. Damon, you know anything about...
Yeah, you got to find it. Goes in QuickTime down here somewhere, usually.
Like dragging it?
No,
like dragging?
go to View. Maybe go to View. Open with.
There we go. Open with.
QuickTime.
Gosh, Damon. You're on it.
Yes, 1 for 2.
Watch this video. This is some weird...
That's my truck almost.
It is Monday, March 12th, 2018. And as you can see, it is snowing here in Lynchburg, Virginia. Looks like we've got about 3 inches
Jack
now.
Daniels.
And it's been snowing pretty much all morning.
Oh, that's Tennessee,
And
sorry.
so anyway, I'd seen some videos online that were of people making snowballs and trying to melt them with a flame. And instead of melting, the snowball would turn black and smell like plastic, burning plastic. So of course I had to see if this would happen here, since pretty much, every day since September, other than about a 3-4 week break, they've been spraying the skies pretty consistently every day.
the chemtrails.
Whatever it is they're spraying, I don't know what it is, but it seems to spread across the sky and eventually block out the sunlight. So of course that's been going on past 2 weeks, pretty heavy here in Lynchburg. So
Skip into this a little bit.
I just had to.
More minutes.
All right,
There we
watch
go,
this.
perfect.
Watch
say
this.
It's just snow, but I'm not so sure after what I saw this morning. So I'm going to take this in here and show you guys what happens when you put a lighter to the snowball. Okay, so
This is so weird.
it should melt, right? Hold it up some, so, okay. So let's see what happens.
No, just watch.
I'm gonna get the lighter flames aren't all that
They're
hot, but
melting.
the fact that it's not really even melting all that much yet.
Still not a drip.
Tearing her glove.
Look at this.
Not one drip.
What?
It's actually smoking.
That
See the
doesn't
black
make any
smoke?
doesn't make any sense at all.
And then if you smell that, it smells like burnt plastic. And I honestly was skeptical of the videos I had seen.
All right.
That maybe
What do you think about that? That is super
They're
weird.
dumping way too, between pollution and chemtrails, they're dumping way too much crap in the air.
That's what you think that so that's not real snow. Or is it snow with
It's real snow, but nobody's ever experimented with all those chemicals they're dumping into the air and what happens to them once you freeze them in water and then try to burn them. Yeah, I'd have to do that myself to be sure, but it's quite possible.
And people were saying that they're turning black because of the butane in the lighter, but she lights a candle, does it again, and she takes a snowball, puts it over the candle, no butane, and it does the same exact thing. It turns black, it smells like burning
Well,
plastic.
the candle would be more likely to put something black on there because you're actually burning the oil,
the oil, okay.
and
Yeah.
bits of the
I had to look.
wick.
I had to look that up because it's not melting because it's melting, but it's sending it back into the snowball.
Yeah.
The heat will force that back into the snowball, and like you just said, the black from the lighter, the butane. So
Plus,
it's
yeah,
not going to
that's,
drip like
that's
that. It's
something
gonna-
I've never done.
That
So
just
I'd have to
seems-
go and try
Yeah,
it
yeah.
because
Soot
there's
collector.
times I've seen people do stuff that, well, look at how weird this is. Well,
Yeah.
it's something I had experience with, and it's like, yeah, go out and do it yourself.
Yeah.
That's what always happens.
That just seems like, I don't know, I guess I don't know any of the science behind it. What you said, David, makes sense, but it seems like it'd still melt if there was heat coming up to it. You get drips.
I'll read this last paragraph,
Okay.
and anyone can agree or disagree.
Yeah.
It all comes down to this. There is nothing sinister happening here, just some basic science and an experiment that has been around for many, many years and has recently found its way back into the spotlight.
Very
So-
possible.
Yeah, that's from a news channel.
Interesting. Or is it the government?
We're
covering
telling
it
you to do
up?
that? Yeah. Oh, delete.
I mean, after everything we've talked about, it definitely, I don't know. It
Well,
makes
there's so much crap in the air right now that, and I'm sorry, carbon dioxide is the least of the worries of all the things we're putting in the air right now.
Really? What should we be worried about?
The toxins, the chemtrails.
Why are they spraying these chemtrails?
Well, there's two theories on that I would say would be the most likely, and one of those is a lot of those chemicals do absorb radiation.
Oh.
Like when you go get the barium X-rays,
Yep.
and the barium absorbs the X-rays, and so they know that the magnetosphere is collapsing. And that is one way to put a sheet of protection above us would be to be dumping chemicals into the air that would create or
Jeez, I
that
never
would
thought of
absorb the excess
Yeah.
radiation.
I'm not
And the
familiar
other
with
way is it can react with electromagnetic transmissions, whether they be radio signals or whatever.
Yeah.
But it would make it easier to play with the air and play with the weather.
Does it supposedly have an instant reaction? Like you put this trail down and then it starts raining? Is that...
I don't think it's instant,
not
but like she
No.
said, because I have seen videos, it's actually proven that they can do it, where they can make a
I
rainstorm.
was trying to
or
think if it would help like for forest fires.
they do it. They
Like if
do
that's-
it. They do it for farming actually in some places where they can spray stuff into the air to cause rain. Like if it's too dry, they can do that. It's actually been a thing. It's expensive, but they can do it. But
Well, there's even rumors that China, when they had the Olympics over there, even played with the weather to make sure they didn't have any rainstorms to rain out the...
Yep, they didn't want their events to get rained out. I've heard that as well. You mentioned radiation. It's weird because I wrote that down on here. The radio towers, the amount of radiation we're exposed to right now, we're exposed to 100 million times more electromagnetic radiation than our grandparents were.
Yeah.
From all the cell phone towers, the microwaves, everything in the air. It's unbelievable how much radiation we're exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
You brought up that they're spraying this stuff potentially to lower the levels of radiation that we're exposed to. I never had heard that before.
Oh, yeah, that was one of the first things I ran into when looking into chemtrails. And yeah, that does make sense. If you put a blanket of radiation-absorbing chemicals into the air, the only problem is the aerosol, the way they're putting it in the air, is so microscopic. You breathe it in, it's going right into your bloodstream.
Really?
It's so small that your lungs aren't going to filter it out.
So these chemicals can be pretty dangerous then to breathe.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And how many people sleep with their cell phone right next to their head, too? That's
Yeah.
not.
Oh, stop.
That's not good.
Stop. I don't even put the thing in the same room with me when I
you
sleep
got to,
anymore.
That really changes the amount of radiation we get?
Mine is about
Really?
12 inches
Well,
on my head every night.
it's constantly putting out radiation because it doesn't sit and wait for a signal to come to it.
True, it's going back
it
and forth.
pings.
Yep.
It's
Wow.
constantly pinging the tower to see if there's any messages for you.
What about charging these things over the air someday? You know, like not
Well,
having
you
to
can
plug
do
them in.
you can do wireless charging right
Yeah,
now.
they have to.
You
Well,
can, you
they
you
have,
just
like,
set it down.
that's
Touch.
like mats
They
and
touch,
That's
stuff.
right?
That's
Well,
magnets
well,
that
magnets for
charge
touching,
it.
right?
Yeah.
That's one of the things about the pyramids that I discovered is that was their energy grid back when they made that. All of your little cell phones and all your fancy little electronics, if set up right and you were in the area of the pyramids and the obelisks, the granite obelisks that are made out of the same thing as the capstones were,
Yep.
they get what is that? Quantum entanglement type thing going where once the energy is flowing through one, it's flowing through the other. And you wouldn't need batteries for this stuff as long as you were in range of the obelisks or the pyramid itself.
Yeah.
Your unit is picking up electromagnetic. It's getting amplified right in your little handset. You wouldn't need batteries. You wouldn't need electrical cords.
Wow.
And if you knew electromagnetics enough to build the pyramids, you'd understand how to have that grid and at such a low power that it isn't messing up people's heads.
Yep.
In fact, it actually works more on a frequency that works with people, not something that's damaging, like where we just spray out every frequency that known to man. And
maybe you could tie in both sides, or not, there's more than two sides, but both sides with the pyramids. Like you could say that they were for people, like the kings or to be buried in, like a shrine, but also maybe they wanted to be buried there because they had all this stuff going on, and they wanted to like suspend themselves in time travel, you know, somewhere. Like they thought it would bring them like power, you know, or something. Like,
I never thought about that.
No, I haven't either. But here you go.
Didn't Tesla? Didn't they stop Tesla from going on with his idea that he wanted to put electromagnetic waves in the air so that anything could be powered without having to plug it in? Didn't they stop him from doing that?
Yeah, because they couldn't figure out a way to charge for it.
Yeah.
How do you put a meter on the wall? Well,
everything could be ran without power. Like the power's in the air, so you could just have your phone charging 100% of the time.
You didn't need a tank full of gas.
No.
None of your electronic stuff. Now, with what he learned, you'd still have to plug it into the unit that was pulling it out of the magnetosphere.
Oh, okay.
But once you understand how the pyramids work, they didn't have microelectronics back then either. Most of what Tesla worked with for electricity would fry your phone.
Really?
Yeah.
Too strong, or there wasn't any limiter on it, so you were getting too many watts?
Well, they were used
to
direct current before Tesla came along and discovered alternating current.
Wow.
And direct current, to get the same effect out of direct current as you can alternating current, takes a whole lot more energy.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
Now that you get down to microelectronics, yeah, you could transmit something through the air that you don't need batteries, you don't need to plug it into the wall. But like I said, with the technology Tesla had to work with, yeah, you'd have to have something semi-bulky to draw it out of the air, and then you'd have to plug your stuff into it because you had 120 volt. He'd just invented 120 volts, so you needed a whole lot more power to do anything. Now we've got electric motors that barely use any electricity at all.
Yeah. Well, there's a video on here I want you to watch. Go to episode 44 files again. This is going back to radiation. The same lady, click that. The same lady that did the snow thing, which we kind of just proved wrong, but she did something here where they tested radiation from a nearby cell phone tower. Oh, let me turn it up.
It's 2019, here with actual activist Matt Landman. What's going on, Matt?
Hi, I'm here out front of a Whole Foods grocery store in Northern California. I brought my non-ionizing radiation meter because of this massive cell tower, which is right out front of the Whole Foods.
That is a horrible spot for a cell phone tower.
I wasn't surprised to find out that the level of radiation, both inside the entire grocery store
That's not annoying.
Oh.
Wow.
Hey, do a search on mosquito.
Okay.
Mosquito?
Mosquito.
What do you mean?
It's a signal they pump out of those towers.
Really?
It's
what are they picking up
off the
here?
charts
They're picking up radiation on this. What do you call it?
So
Nine
it's immeasurable
eyes?
right now by
It's
this
immeasurable
meter.
right now. It can't even come down to a level that it can measure it. But this is how it is inside. This is how it is definitely at this housing co-op, and this is how it is in this Whole Foods parking lot. The level of radiation is so high that it is immeasurable by my device. And let's take a look at this tower here. Can we zoom in? A lot of people don't even know what this tower is, but it's a cell tower. Okay,
I
back
think
up
most
a little
people
bit.
would know that.
It's a cell tower that's emitting radiation.
So now you said look up mosquito?
Yeah.
Look up mosquito.
Smelling, ooh.
This device, that's just something anyone can get, or you know what that is, Jack? That device he was using?
Oh, just probably an EM detector.
Interesting. So the rays that was putting out, he said were so strong that that thing couldn't pick it up. What's that doing to our us health-wise?
Well, one thing that I always remember is in France, it's illegal to put up a Wi-Fi tower within 1,000 meters of a public school because of the effect of the radiation on the developing mind.
In where? France?
France.
Really? What are we looking up here now? Mosquito cell phone tower? Or what should we look up?
Well, okay, just type in full spectrum survival.
Like
Full spectrum survival.
and mosquito or just
No, just
okay.
take mosquito off of there because, in fact, this is something I saw just before I came down here. Check my daily news.
Full spectrum
Survival.
survival. I don't know how I forgot the last word, but
All right, which one should we go on here?
Okay, go to his website.
the
Patreon?
No, YouTube.
Oh, okay, right there, yeah, that one, Adam. Now, this guy is someone that looks into this stuff, or? Interesting.
Yeah, he's one of the people I go to for daily news reports. It's going to keep me up on the truth. Go to videos.
Full spectrum survival.
The newest one.
Breaking Iran threats.
Oh, wait. U.S. government using silent sonic weapons on
Oh,
you.
looks like you got something to do, Jack.
Yeah, I got a new episode. All right, let's turn this one up here. Now, should we... Oh, got a advertisement, of course. Should we...
God, look at that crust.
Should we skip into this or just watch from the beginning?
This episode of Full Spectrum Survival News. It is Wednesday, July the 10th of the year 2019, and after 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Governments within the United States of America are using sonic weapons against their citizens that are causing them both physical harm and, in some cases, mental harm. Now, this might sound like a conspiracy, and we have heard for some time that individuals in urban areas have complained about being targeted by government agencies or being targeted by individuals around them, saying that they hear a constant high pitch and hurtful buzzing within their head. They only hear it when they go outside in public spaces. They don't hear it in the confines of their own home. This is reminiscent of sonic weapons that were being used in Cuba, but let's get to the facts. This isn't a conspiracy. This is from NPR. In Philadelphia, 30 parks and recreation centers are outfitted with a small speaker called the Mosquito, and we're going to get to the company that provides this in just a moment. It blares a constant, high-pitched, ringing noise all the time but it supposedly can only be heard by teenagers. Anyone over the age of 25, they say, is supposed to be immune, basically because their ear cells have started dying off. So you have a constant sonic weapon being used. And just because you can't hear it doesn't mean it's not hurting you.
No, why would they do that? Why would they have a speakers?
Well, he goes into it. It's to keep teenagers out of areas or from hanging around or loitering and causing damage.
Really?
That's what the website says.
Measure.
That's from the NPR.
Yeah.
Really?
And if you go to the site, he continues on into it. You don't have to if you don't want to, but how they use it in parks, places where they've had a lot of graffiti damage done, they post that. And I believe there's a part in there where they even talk about just transmitting music over those frequencies.
And it makes sense because I have heard that as you get older, you lose, because if you hear a certain level and it breaks that ear, what do you call it, like the level, the decibel level or whatever, you actually kill that ear, like that cell. Like I know when you shoot a gun or whatever, you actually kill some of the cells. If you don't have protection on, you actually kill some of your what do you call it, eardrums or,
probably.
And then you can't hear that frequency again, is what I've heard. So that makes sense. But I can't believe that that's legal to do that.
I thought you had to get up to your 60s to stop hearing that stuff, but maybe not. I don't know, but yeah.
I don't know.
Those weapons, like we talked about DARPA before, but I mean that is one real thing. Like weapons like that are like the new wave of technology weapons of just blasting people with enough sound wave to make them ill, or without them knowing. I mean,
or cook them with microwaves.
It's a real thing.
That's crazy, and
we're just warming you up slightly. We're not destroying anything.
That's legal. They did that in Cuba. He said.
Yeah, there was a time that the ambassadors in Cuba were complaining of getting sick all the time.
Really?
And they did some checking, and here they were pumping radio waves at them at frequencies that were causing them to get sick and giving them health problems. And there was a big hullabaloo about that. And the current Wi-Fi towers pump out more radiation than what they were shooting at the ambassadors down in Cuba.
That's crazy.
Yeah, if they don't already, they're gonna have to have, just like they do with chemical welfare or weaponry. They're gonna have to say that you can't use that in wartime, and then they got to respect that. But
we never even think about.
Well, they're supposed to.
Right?
You got a government that came up with Operation Northwoods.
We talk about weapons of mass destruction, and there's those chemical weapons which are just nasty, and you start getting this stuff in here.
Well, you never even think about like weapons that could use sound waves. That's some
Scary
next
stuff.
Level crazy stuff. Like, is there enough radiation in these cell phone towers that if the government wanted to, they could kill us with that? Or would there not, like if they pumped enough? I'm talking like extreme circumstances. Like, could they actually pump enough radiation through these things to kill somebody?
It's possible if they find the right frequency and hit it strong enough.
That blows me away.
You could totally mess up your mind's
hopefully it won't.
Neurons.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a picture on here, Adam. Go back to the file on the desktop. There's a picture of a guy, the workers who climb these things. It's the most dangerous job in the United States. Go to that picture. This is on the left.
This right here?
This is from a guy that climbs these towers. And this is from him being up there touching one of the cell phone things. That's the burn he got from it. Like, you wouldn't think that, because, I mean, I don't want to really get too much into it, but we've climbed cell phone towers before. And now that I'm looking at this stuff, I'm never doing it again because they got to wear special protection against, to block out some of these radiation waves. That's unbelievable to me that, like, I don't even know, microwaves, is that what it is? Cell phone waves, whatever it would be that can burn somebody like that. Like, something you can't physically, like...
see.
Yeah, that blows me away that it could do something like that to you. That's from a cell phone tower worker. Scary stuff. And, I mean, it just makes you wonder what else is out there. What does the government have that we don't know about that people haven't came forward and told us?
Yep. And when Tesla talked about having a death ray...
Death ray?
Yeah.
I never knew about that.
Oh, yeah. If you see the old Superman cartoons, the mad scientist... One of them was to make Tesla look bad.
Really?
And yeah, because he even said, you hit the right frequency and blast it at people, it'll just shut them down.
Holy cow.
Because your brain works on electromagnetic and chemical reactions. You shut down that electromagnetic part, the chemical reactions can't keep you going on their own. So
wow. And I was talking about Chernobyl before. We're talking about radiation from cell phone towers, but radiation from a nuclear meltdown like that. Watching that series really opened my eyes because I didn't realize how bad this was. Like the millions of people affected, the hundreds of thousands of people that died are still dying to this day from radiation poisoning that they got from Chernobyl. That is such a scary thing to know that there are people that have that capability that could literally end life on Earth. We have enough nuclear weapons to kill everyone and everything on this planet.
And how many of you guys know that over in Fukushima,
Are they still cleaning that up?
There's still water being pumped out into the ocean daily that's radioactive as hell.
Really?
Yeah.
I know it takes like 10,000 years for nuclear cells to die.
Well, they're still trying to cool it down to keep it from getting worse.
Wow.
But there's no place to put the water once they've used it to cool it, so there's water daily.
That is unbelievable.
Going into the Pacific Ocean that's radioactive as hell. But, one thing you got to understand, and you'll understand, I hate to agree with politicians. In fact, the last election was the first time I didn't vote for president. I was disgusted by those debates, if you want to call it that.
Whatever you want to call it.
If when I was in high school, if the class president debates had gotten that infantile, the teachers would have shut us down. And to think that these two people are running for office and anybody would consider voting for them, talking trash. Excuse me, you're running for president. What are you talking trash on the stage for?
Where's the respect?
But I got to agree with one thing. It is fake news.
Oh, the media makes a lot of stuff up, yeah.
Well, the thing is, go look at their taxes.
Who?
CNN. Fox was the one that started the whole thing. Remember when Fox came out with their ad campaign, "We report, you decide."
Oh.
They changed their filing status to infotainment. CNN changed shortly after that. And seeing that MSNBC and the other two, CBS and ABC, pretty much pump out the same garbage and lies, they've had to change theirs too. That's why they can sit and tell you anything they want to.
It's because there's a law in the books that say they're supposed to be non-judgmental.
But there's Operation Mockingbird.
Yeah.
What's Operation Mockingbird?
That's the CIA telling them what they can and can't run.
Really?
There was hearings about that back in the 50s and 60s, and they even admitted the one guy didn't even want to answer the questions out in the public, but the public had a little more control. The news was a little freer and not totally controlled.
Yeah.
But pretty much nowadays, you got to figure anything you see that's labeled news
not
is everything the government thinks you should know. And they're not going to tell you anything that they don't want you to know.
What does filing it as infotainment change?
It takes away their responsibility of telling the truth.
Oh, because you're adding the entertainment aspect in
Once
there.
you put infotainment in there, they have no more reason to tell you the truth than the Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live or the WWE wrestling.
Because those channels now, they do a lot of commentary on just what side they talk about instead of just reporting the story.
The pundits.
Because no one just watches the local news channels are still pretty good at just reporting stories, if you watch those, but it's totally different from cable.
NPR is about the only one that you can actually go. I listen to NPR a lot because they just
literally say what happened.
They say what happened. There's no, this is my opinion on it. It just, this is what happened today in the news. Like, I like that because it's short, sweet. I don't have to hear anyone bitching about anything or whatever. It's just like, it's not like some of these Facebook pages. We'll just leave it at that.
Well, they just and even when they do tell the truth, it's all sensationalized and blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
I grew up, you heard a report, there was a plane crash in the Andes, 300 people were killed. Well, you know that 300 people dying in a plane crash is a tragedy. You don't need to have somebody there interviewing survivors and witnesses. You just understand. Oh, no, now they go into the big sideshow. And
Well, the big one is weather. You stand out there and have your umbrella blow away, and that shows you that it's windy, you know?
Well, and the other thing is, it's got to be who can get the story first. And that's why there's so many mess-ups now. I see it all the time. No matter what news agency you're looking at, news agency, you know, no matter which one you're looking at, they got to be who's going to be the first one to get the report out there. And then,
typos in stories online are annoying.
Oh, and it's not just a typo; they get information wrong, and then they have to come and they got to issue a correction because they messed up so bad. They said someone's name that wasn't involved.
There's always corrections in written stories.
Yeah, and
there was the kid in the MAGA hat at the.
Yep.
What was the big one with that? What did they mess up?
They tried to say that he was getting in the face of this Native American that was just there to do their thing.
And they didn't issue an apology to him.
And the only reason they got in trouble wasn't because they lied. It was because many of the news services actually told people to go do something to them, dox them.
Yeah,
mild doxing.
I saw, what's her name? Kathy Griffin was telling people to go find these kids for her so she could take care of them and stuff, which is ridiculous. They're minors, first of all. Second of all, they're still human beings. You can't be...
Yeah, and I got to give those kids credit. After seeing the whole film of what happened for about a half hour, 45 minutes there, I got to give them credit for being the most mature acting adults in the whole damned area.
Yeah, there was some adults there that were saying very racist things about everybody, not just...
There was some black Muslims that were shouting stuff that I wouldn't, if I had kids, I wouldn't want them hearing stuff like that.
No, it was pretty bad, yeah. It was really bad.
And then you got the Native American who's been... He likes raising a stink and getting in the spotlight, and he saw a chance to get in the spotlight, and he went up to the other kid.
And I think what happened there was the news got this video clip, not the whole thing. They got the short video clip, and they reported.
They saw a chance to make a Trump supporter look bad.
Then they got the full video clip, and it doesn't matter what side or anything. It's just they didn't have the full context, and we talk about this all the time on the podcast. Context, you need the context. Yep. They didn't have the full context, so they didn't know what was going on. By the time the story was out, everyone was calling these kids out, calling them racist, whatever. Then they got the full video clip. Then they had to apologize. By that time, their reputations were already destroyed. I mean, they got sued. There was a lawsuit and stuff. It's pretty bad. And that's why with the news nowadays and everything, you can literally ruin someone's life if you report a story on them, put it on national TV, and it's not true. You could literally ruin someone's life if you issue a correction. How many people are going to go, oh, the correction, my bad.
Yeah.
Most people are going to see the headline. That's it. Oh, screw that guy, whatever, and then it's over. So this is the most important time.
And when they spend 15, 20 minutes pushing their little story, and then there's a 10-second apology some other time.
Yeah, that's what it was, too. I'm pretty sure one of the news anchors came on later that night after one of the shows was over and said, I need to issue an apology. Who's watching that, though? Like, in this day and age, it's so important that you get the story right. But it's all about who can get that fast. We want everything immediately now. Who can get it first?
Yeah, it's like pumping out the facts, too. If you do a story that's not even true and it's a lie, someone's just going to read that headline and they're like, oh, that's true. I'm not even going to read the story.
And, all those fake Facebook news articles, you see them all the time.
It's a big thing, too.
Facebook has been deleting them. There was that one I saw that there was a mall shooting in St. Cloud or something. Like, there was a mass shooting, 100 people died. I'm like, oh, my gosh. And then you click it, and it brings you to some website called, News 45 or something.
Clickbait stuff.
Yeah. The Onion.
Always click the comments first so it warns you, what.
This isn't true. And Facebook's trying to get rid of all that, but there's millions of these websites, and a lot of them are from out of the country. They're from foreign countries that they're trying to disrupt.
I tell you, Facebook's scary too.
Oh gosh, I saw the guy that co-founded Apple, Steve Wozniak.
Oh yeah.
He said, "Get off Facebook right now. They're keeping track of everything you do, everywhere you go, everything you search, all your friends, your phone number. They're keeping track of everything."
We've talked about this before, but it was the weekend. It was Friday. I went to the Wyndham liquor store, got myself 12-pack of Heineken.
Oh.
Never even said Heineken out loud. Never researched Heineken. Never looked up Heineken on why would you, right?
Yeah.
Got back home. Sat on the patio, cracked one open. I'm not even kidding. I've never seen a Heineken ad in my feed before. There it was.
Popped up.
Oh, Same thing happened like a few months ago, and got some Stella and was sitting in Worthington.
Yep.
Came back home evening time, Friday, Saturday. Open up, ad right there. I'm like, what?
That is crazy.
There is such thing as coincidences.
That's
but
weird
it
though.
floored
No,
me because
yeah.
I'm like, I've never seen one before, and I didn't. Maybe because I said it out loud and it was like listening.
Your phone is always listening to you.
Yep. Well,
we'll see
didn't
here.
I say in the last interview that one of the things I posted at Facebook before I got thrown out was I put the link to the clip of Zuckerberg.
Yeah, you did.
Agent Zuckerberg getting the award from the CIA.
You said that, I don't know if Adam ever heard this, that, what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg is a CIA agent, and he got an award from the CIA. He posted that on Facebook, and now he can never use it again. He's even tried using aliases, and they find out about him, and they will not let him make an account. Haven't your friends even tried making an account for you? And that
a person that met me through a game online that lives in another country said, "Oh yeah, I'll make you a site and give you the name." And
then you never heard from him, right?
Yeah. Well, he just said, don't ask me to do that."
Oh my gosh.
So it's like, well, what happened with him?
Yeah.
He was so quick to just make a fake Facebook site
crazy.
and just pass the name and the password off to me. And really, it's that tough.
I mean, that is wild. And here's the thing. I think what we should tell everyone to do. No, I wasn't. I was just going to say, I had an idea from your story. Everyone listening, watching the podcast, I want you to start talking about something that you would normally not think of or talk about. Like, let's say just a book or
I'm going to go shopping at Target.
Yeah, just start talking about a store,
T-shirt.
a drink,
I need to buy a shirt.
Nike, Adidas, like something you would normally, think of a brand that you don't normally buy or whatever, or like a pop you don't drink. Talk about it. Talk about it at home, at work, wherever you're going to be. I 100% guarantee you're going to start noticing these ads are going to show up on
Don't
Facebook.
Google it, though, because that
Yeah.
definitely will
Cookies
blow it up, 'cause
cookies will keep track. Yeah. But if you don't look it up at all, if you just talk about it, I 100% guarantee if your phone's in your pocket or around you at all, ads are going to show up. And that is because they're listening to you, and they'll claim they're not. But how else would you explain that? I've heard
or
time
Amazon.
and time
If you
after
buy
time.
something on Amazon, too, that'll show up in ads.
They sell your data to all these other companies. Facebook does it too. They sell your data, your information. They say they don't, but they 100% do. Every one of these big companies is keeping a profile of every one of us. If you make an account, they already have that, but they're keeping track of everything we look up, everything we buy, everything we talk about, and they can literally, in the future, we're going to have way too much information out there about us. People are going to be like...
even those little rewards cards that the stores give out to you. Why do you think you get that? Because they're selling your information.
Yep.
This person that bought this and this and this also buys this and this. And
I was listening to a rock station on the way home from Mankato the other weekend, and it was this like, listen to 4 Disturbed songs, then email us this code name. It's like, not even call in, like just email us now so we have your email address so we can send you all this advertisement.
Well, and you wonder, like, why am I getting phone? I get phone calls all the time from telemarketers, and they can literally change their number to anywhere in the United States. I get phone calls from Mountain Lake, answer it at all, and I'm like, what? What is going on here? And, I usually chew them out, tell them never to call me again, but I just get phone calls all day long from all over the United States. They can put any number they want in. I've even heard of people getting phone calls from their friends, and then they answer and it's someone else.
Oh, yeah, that's...
And you wonder, how are they getting my phone number? Well, did you enter it on Target.com, Walmart.com, Amazon, Facebook, eBay? All those websites are selling a huge email list of all their people, email and phone numbers.
Or they have callers that have, you have, almost close to 10,000 numbers you could pick from if you know the 2 prefixes and you just roll through 001, 002, till they get to yours.
Yep. And it's never going to stop. If anything, it's going to get worse because now they got the I don't know if you get the automatic. I get the automatic phone calls. You have won a free trip to Bahamas. And then if you keep on the line, I've kept on the line before, then it transfers you to a foreign guy in India.
How about when RoboCop calls you and says you're going to throw you in jail? The automated voice is like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Way down the line.
Because it's okay, all right.
Now, Jack, you have talked to me before about the Jacob Wetterling thing. You said you had 3 things to tell us here, because I know you know a lot of information.
Well, screwy things about the whole setup. You got to wonder.
Well, hold on. Before you go into this, for people that don't know, what rock have you been under? Jacob Wetterling was a huge deal. In Minnesota, a kid was kidnapped and killed back in the 80s, right? It was the 80s. We talked about this on a previous episode. And they found the guy, but they did convict him. He is convicted, yeah. So if you just want to, go on with what you're talking about. It's a kid that got kidnapped and killed. There's
a few screwy things that I couldn't believe that nobody else really paid attention to. And one of them was he grabs these kids and then he questions them for a while at gunpoint. Now, a pedophile just snatches kids. Or they get them to come along with them. They see which ones are.
Yeah. Didn't he ask them how old
yeah,
he was?
He was questioning them on their age, their name.
Yep.
Over and over, the same questions, just to make sure he got the right person. Why would a pedophile sit here and question intensely? Take the chance at being seen.
Well, it's tough to get into a sicko's head, to know what they
we talked about that on the next episode. But yeah, so you're saying that he picked out someone. He picked out Jacob on purpose.
Well, something to think about.
Okay.
Why did that happen? It's out of all the ones where I've looked at for missing people, especially kids and stuff, that just didn't make any sense to me. But then you got to understand there's something I'm not saying about what I know about it right now.
Yeah, yeah.
The other thing was, how come he confessed to it? When Denny, when he got busted, and he was already up on charges, they offered him a deal. Yeah, you admit to us and tell us where the body is, and we won't add any charges to you. We just want to know where the body is.
He gets life in prison either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would you all of a sudden admit to it unless you were bragging about it or wanted the cred? How come out of everything he just comes up with this one and then that's good enough? What did he get out of admitting to this one murder and telling where the body was? I'm sure if he wanted to brag, he could have come up with more. And yeah, he was already getting life, so why admit to something that they couldn't prove?
What's the third thing then you got?
The third thing is, since the case is closed now and everything's shut down, all that information gathered in that case is open to the public for inspection.
Yep.
Why is it out of all that information, the Wetterlings want their financial records out of there? Out of all the records of stuff collected during that case, they're upset that their financial records from that time are available to other people.
Since I'm sitting here again, I'm going to refrain from this conversation in respect to the Wetterling family and not come up with a conspiracy theory about the Jacob Wetterling.
Oh, no, I'm not trying to come up with any conspiracies.
No.
He just said he had something to say about it, so I was interested in what that was,
But yes, out of all the information, why is it their finances or what they're worried about? There's more going on in this case than just a pedophile snagging a kid and hauling him off and killing him and burying him.
This is an actual factual, their financial. Why would their? I'm just questioning though. Why would their?
Well, that's what I'm asking.
No. Why would the financial records of them have anything to do with their son being kidnapped though? It's what I'm wondering.
Well, there's more to the case than just a pedophile snagging a kid.
That's all you can say about it?
That's all I'll say about it right now. But think about it. There's a few things wrong with this case.
I don't really. You've told me what you know about it or whatever, and I'm not going to say anything about it. But yeah, like Damon said, out of respect for the Wetterling, because we did an entire episode talking about the kidnapping, comparing it to the Dugard case and everything. And obviously, it's a touchy subject with someone's kid and everything. But like you said, you have information that you're not willing to give up about it, So.
I don't want to be found on a farm 20 years from now.
Yeah. Well, and it's just one of those things where we will never know everything that happened. I don't think anyone will ever know. I don't even think the police or anyone knows everything that happened, because the only person that is going to know everything that happened is the guy and Jacob. Those are the two people that know exactly what happened. So we can sit here all day and come up with this could have happened, that could happen, but we'll never know the truth, because that's just the fact that it was between those two people.
And there are people that know the truth that there's things you just shut up about because you're dealing with people that are even nastier than the government.
I mean, we did talk about that. Well, I guess this episode will be coming out next week. We talked about evil people and where we think the root of all evil comes from and why somebody would have that urge to go out and kidnap a child. What would drive somebody to?
I hopefully never find out.
No, it's one of those things where, we were saying, because you can identify somebody with these tendencies as young as like 6 to 8 years old, and when they're younger, you can identify like a serial killer, pedophile, someone that is.
Not always, though.
Not always, but a lot of the times
there
if you
are
go
things
back
that are
and
in
look,
common.
Yeah, you look at like killing, roadkill, and stuff. These are just things we talked about in the next episode of the podcast that'll be coming out next week. But like you said, you can't mention a lot of that, so maybe we'll get off of that topic. But those 3 things, I guess, people can think about or whatever. One other thing I wanted to ask you about, and we talked about this, energy transferring, because energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So when we die, where does our energy go? Or maybe you don't have the answer.
It's hard to explain because different people use different words to explain things, but from what I've discovered, there's the physical world where you got your solids, your liquids, the world we live in.
Yeah.
And then taking up the same place is also a world that's pure energy. And that's pretty much where your soul, once you leave, some people talk about it as going through the tunnel of light. But basically, you let go of the physical and accept the spiritual. And there's a whole nother world of beings that live on an energetic level. That's why I use non-corporeal entities or non-corporeal beings. They don't have a physical body.
Are they ghosts?
Some people call them ghosts, and there's the demons, and there's just alien life forms that's the way they evolved.
Wait, evolved?
Well,
are you talking about, so when I die, my energy goes to this another dimension? Is that what you're saying? And then I become an alien?
No, there's the different forms of life that just don't have a physical body. And there's forms of life that are older than we could comprehend and have gone beyond that. But there's also ghosts, and there's spiritual recordings.
Spiritual recordings?
Yeah, that's where you see this same ghost walking down the same hallway every night at the same time. They don't respond or react to anything around them. That's just something that it was such a strong event in somebody's life that they left an impression on the surroundings around them. And
wow. It's on a loop? Then it just keeps...
Yeah, pretty much. It's just a recording, and if you're sensitive enough, you can pick it up. And
okay.
And you're talking about more electromagnetic fields and stuff, because many of the places they've found where they have these ghosts that keep appearing, doing the same thing every night.
Yeah.
Like one guy dug a basement, and here it was, he'd have these soldiers come walking through his basement, and from the waist up, just out of the ground.
Really?
Well, he found out that was a road back during the Civil War, and it was actually, dirt had been piled up. The roadway was actually lower than the bottom of his basement floor.
Really?
And this was just a spiritual recording.
Adrian never even talked about this stuff. I'm gonna have to bring that up to him. Adrian's the paranormal guy.
Yeah, that'll be something to talk to him about.
Yeah, I've never heard of that before.
If you get a reaction, it's probably a living being of some sort, but then is it something that someone would call a demon or an angel pretending to be a ghost just to mess with you? Because there are beings that live off of or feed off the energy that we give off. And if they can stir up your emotions, that's more energy for them. And a lot of people have referred to those as demons in the past. They stir up your life, try to make you think things you wouldn't normally think. And yeah, if you ever find yourself thinking about stuff, it could be your mind wandering. It could be that something's trying to influence you to get an emotional reaction so they can feed off of those emotions.
So do you think heaven is real then?
Yeah.
Why is this energy not going to heaven or hell then? Why is it staying on the earth?
Well, you can control where your body goes. You don't have to go to the light, as they say, when you die. If you don't let go of the physical, you can't move on. And some people just can't let go. Hey, my body's dead, but how many people do you know are in denial and watch the news every night and believe everything they see? Now you got something like, oh, I just died, now I got to give it up. And some of them maybe aren't ready to face what they did during their life, because I did flatline, and yeah.
You talked about that before, yeah. You died.
You want to move on, you got to face what you did while you were here.
What did you see when you died?
Well, I was just here, but not here. I was in the same place, I just wasn't in the physical world.
Were you looking at your body?
No.
Oh, you weren't?
No, the physical world wasn't even around me.
There's nothing there.
See, and that's... a lot of people are influenced by what they expect to happen.
Oh, okay.
And
mental?
their brain tries to comprehend what they're seeing. And I've always tried to keep an open mind and accept what I see and hear and try to figure out what it means.
Yeah.
So it's like I could sense that I hadn't moved anywhere, but everything physical around me was gone, and I was in the presence of a being of light.
So now, did you choose to come back, or did they revive you?
I pretty much got let know that I wasn't done here.
Wow.
I still had stuff to do or whatever. I wasn't happy with it.
Yeah.
It was so nice and peaceful over there.
You were ready to go?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
How long ago was this?
My life was a soap opera at that time.
Wow.
So and between the fact that my body was slowly going to shit on me, pardon the French, but...
Not sorry.
Yeah.
Dang.
And things going wrong inside of me that, yeah, I was ready to go. And it's one of those things, well, hey, can I stop it? No, accept it.
Wow.
And because, in fact, they sent a priest in to talk to me about it, and he even made mention, well, you seem awful calm about this. And it's like, well, is there anything I can do?
Can't wait to see how we're going to wrap this one up here.
Yeah, I mean...
If I die, I die. If I don't, I don't. If
Yeah.
the doctors can save me, they can. If they can't, well...
So you believe in heaven, but you think that people have the choice if they want to go that direction or linger here? Unfinished business, or what is it? Why would someone want to stay around
They
here?
can't let go.
Of being here on Earth?
Yeah.
Interesting.
A lot of it's just they can't let go. Some of them, most people go on, and then what happens after you pass through the gates, I don't know. I do know that some of them have come back. They're here to help.
Yeah.
Because I had one that's helped me quite a bit. And as long as it never told me to go kill anybody, or
Yeah.
it was always just things that you need to leave this area. Don't do that.
Like
Slow down.
Something's watching over you, telling you what to do? Mm-hmm. Really?
Oh, yeah, I had gotten in a whole lot of trouble when I was younger if I didn't have something tapping me on the shoulder and whispering in my ear.
Wow.
But it never told me to do anything evil or nasty or mean, or, in fact, if anything, it's like, why are you doing that? Some would call it a conscience, but there was times that this voice, yeah, slow down. You're doing 85 miles an hour down the highway. You don't see anybody around. Slow down.
You physically could hear the voice?
Not physically, but it was there.
Wow.
And it wasn't a thought that I was having.
So now... That would make me believe that if you said it could be good or evil, what if these people that are doing horrible things are getting a negative voice telling them to do that?
It's quite possible.
Maybe that's what we were talking about. We were talking about demon possession, you know? What if there's something in their heads saying, go...
Something that couldn't let go, or something that just feeds off the negative emotions and... Hey, this ain't my body, but I can have fun in it while I'm here, and I can make somebody miserable and feed off of those emotions.
That's like the only thing that actually could make me think that someone would do some of these horrible things would be there'd be something in them that is forcing them to do it. Some otherworldly, whatever you want to call it. We use a lot of different words, whatever you want to call it. Some otherworldly being, whether it's demon possession or whatever.
That's kind of where we ended up on the other one.
I was going to say, we're going to have 2 episodes with demon possession. I don't know. It's really something that I want to do more research on. And especially since we're talking about doing a couple episodes where we're talking about serial killers, what would drive somebody to do horrific things like that? Because it's got to be otherworldly. Like, it's got to be, there's nothing we've ever been taught growing up or anything that would make someone go do these things. It's got to be something that comes into you that changes you.
And some people have said they get a thrill out of it.
Yeah.
And if nothing bad, and the bad thing about people is, if you do something that some would consider reprehensible, and you get away with it, and or the people around you say, oh, that's okay, it's not your fault. Well, why not do it again, especially if you want attention? There's a lot of things that people will do just to get attention.
Yeah.
And you might think, well, why would you do that? Because, Munchausen syndrome.
Munchausen syndrome?
Yeah, why would you pretend to be sick or make yourself sick, break bones, just for the attention you get when you get taken to the hospital?
Wow. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it's like some people will go to extremes just to get attention. And as long as what they have to deal with after getting the attention is tolerable, well, what price are you willing and what lengths are you willing to go to get that attention? And that comes a lot with self-esteem, having self-respect for yourself. That's why grown-ups used to tell your kids, make something of yourself, learn something, learn how to do something, learn how to leave a mark on this planet that's a good mark that people will remember you by.
There's a positive.
And
I was going to ask you, Damon, is that something that you guys kind of teach at Rainbows about, really becoming somebody and doing something so you
Most
feel...
definitely. I think we mentioned, or a podcast or so, we mentioned that, like, you have to feel good about yourself. It's not just to say feel good about yourself. You have to have something that you feel proud about or a task or keep yourself busy, keep that positive thing going.
Yeah, because I never had heard of the syndrome or whatever where you literally have to act sick or hurt yourself to get attention.
Or sometimes mothers or fathers will do it to their children.
Yeah, Munchausen by proxy. You make the kid sick so that you take the kid to the hospital, you get attention.
It's so sad to think that someone would want attention that bad that they do something like that to themselves.
And it's simple. We all have our strengths. We all have our weaknesses. Find what you're good at. Find what you enjoy doing. And take it somewhere. Then you're not sitting there having somebody tell you, well, you're the most important person in the world, and you sit and think, well, why?
Yeah.
I was born.
That's the best advice tonight.
I was going to say, that is a good...
And on a positive.
That is a good way to finish it up. Really appreciate it, Jack, for coming on here. And this, I think, will be the longest podcast we've ever done. I think it actually is right now. So I really appreciate you coming and talking to us. I feel like we could talk for a lot longer.
No problem.
We'll have to get you on again soon. Really appreciate it. It's been great to talk to you. I know you got a lot of awesome stories to tell. We'll be back next week, like I said. We're going to kind of continue this conversation next week because it goes into the one we just filmed before this. And we talk about Wilder Demon a lot, but we also talk about serial killers and what would drive somebody, the root of all evil and things like that. So make sure you tune in next week. We will be giving away the T-shirts and maybe more Cottonwood DVDs as well. I didn't even think of that. More Cottonwood DVDs. I got a whole bunch of them.
No, you don't. They're
selling out like crazy. Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This is the Ethan Clerc Podcast Show. Damon and Adam, really appreciate you guys doing 2 episodes. I know it was a long...
3, we'll call it.
Yeah, pretty much. Really appreciate everyone for tuning in. Get you back on soon, Jack. I know you got some awesome stuff to talk about. We'll be back next week. This is the Ethan Clerc Podcast Show.